Hello and welcome to another episode of No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. Now, as you know, we've been focusing on a season of No Ordinary Men, and today is no exception. We have an extraordinary man in the hot seat who we are very excited to be interviewing. Mciver, aka Slidercuts, is a professional barber with over 15 years of experience, and it has an impressive client list that includes names such as boxing champion Anthony Joshua, TV personality Reggie Yates, and UK grime artists Stormzy and Tinie Tempah. And with over 65,000 followers on Instagram, Mark has worked hard to build up a powerful brand that reaches far beyond the barbering industry. And in doing so, he's landed features in Nike's recent Nothing Beats a Londoner campaign and Facebook's Let's Get to Work campaign. After many years working out of a renowned barbershop in North London, Mark opened his very own Slidercut shop in East London, in fact in Hoxton, that we are sitting in right now, of just a few months ago in fact, and he's currently working on creating his own product line as well. He also has a vlog series titled Slidercuts, Shaping Up Culture, where he shares key business insights and highlights issues affecting the black community.
A true trailblazer, Mark was recognised as one of the UK's top black business owners, winning the 2018 Black British Business Award for Consumer and Luxury Rising Star. An expert in his field and a trusted figure within the community, Mark offers his customers a unique barbershop experience like no other, and is dedicated to equipping small businesses, the community and the younger generation with the expertise and self-belief that they need to flourish and succeed. So without further ado, let's meet the man himself, Mr. Slidercuts.
Yo, bro. Thank you for having me on your show. That was
thank you for being
amazing intro.
For an amazing person, of course.
Absolutely.
Now, Mark, tell us a bit about your experience growing up and how and when Slidercuts came into being.
Slidercuts is a evolving, journey, an evolving story of how Slidercuts came to be. My nickname was Slider from the ages of like 13 or 14, when everyone was MCing, so you had to have an MC name.
How do you MC?
I MC'd.
Okay, so you're not an MC now.
But to be fair, sometimes I find it fun. I just kind of just make up lyrics in my head, and sometimes I just put it on Instagram just because it's just fun.
Okay. MC Slider in the place.
Yeah. So that's where the name Slider came from MCing, and also it linked into around that same time I started dancing, so I was addicted to sliding. But the name came before the slide. But everyone assumed my nickname was Slider because I was always sliding. So it's almost like I spoke that into fruition. And I held that name for a while, for like 10 to 12 years after that. Everyone's calling me Slider. And when I was setting up my own website at 24, 25 years old, I was like, what should my name be? Like, what should the website be called? Should it be Slider the Barber? Because everyone calls me Slider anyway. Mm-hmm. And my wife and my older brother said that they thought that was boring. So they simultaneously at the same time literally said, Slider, 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 and they both said at the same time, Cuts.
Wow.
And I was in the next room, and like my wife came in, which I'm excited, being like, oh, we've got a much better name, Slidercuts. And I was like,
You weren't convinced?
Because I thought if the name wasn't the issue, it was more so I thought, would people understand that I'm a barber from that? And she goes, of course people will. I said, yeah, but people might not just from cuts understand that. So I said, Slidercuts sound better. But I said, but Slider the Barber, at least people know I'm a barber. Mm-hmm. So I put it out there to people. I said, let's ask a bunch of people. And half the people said barber, or half the people said cuts. Even the person building my site said cuts. And I was like, but actually, the more I said it over the next 24 hours, I thought, this really sounds catchy, So I went with Slidercuts, did my website, social media came out, Slidercuts, and that's how Slidercuts was birthed. And that was now, I'm 34 now, so wow, we're talking about 9 years ago.
Wow. But when did you actually start barbering? Because I'm sure the story started before that. 13?
About 13 or 14 years old when I started cutting hair. Well, I started cutting my hair.
Okay.
Because
why?
Because my mum never had money to take us to the barbershop.
Right.
So my mum would cut my hair, my older brothers would cut my hair, and the styles weren't cutting it. No pun intended.
Sorry, Mum.
So I decided, and all the kids in my schools, because I went to school which had like loads of black kids in there, they were having shape-ups and fades and lines and all of these styles, and I was like, I want one of those styles, and didn't have no money to go to the barbershop, so I picked up the clippers and tried it myself and messed myself up the first time bad, and then I had to cut all my hair off.
It's usually the way, innit? Like once you go wrong, because I'm no barber, I don't profess to be, but I actually used to cut my brother's hair, and I grew up on a council estate and cut a number of the guys' hair on the council estate.
Are you serious?
I could do a mean fade at like 13, 14, 15, yeah.
Multi-talented. You might need to get
I don't think I could do it now.
And that is spare chair.
Yeah. You got a spare chair? I don't think I could cut it now, but you know.
You never know.
There you go. But I get that. Wow. So that's out of like resilience and tenacity, right? That's amazing.
Yeah, so I just kept on cutting my hair, because still didn't have no money to go to the shop. So
yeah. So you want to get that fade, you want to get that cut.
I started getting better, and started cutting my little cousin started living with me from Nigeria. I started cutting his hair, and then sometimes I cut my little brother's hair. But I realized that I had an interest in cutting hair. Like, it's only recently I realized, when I look back, I had an interest in cutting hair before I actually picked up the clippers, which made sense as to why I ended up picking up the clippers. Because before I started cutting hair, I used to draw shape-ups in the back of my school book.
For real?
Yeah, how I thought a shape-up should look. So I was always drawing like shape-ups. I remember with my friend Aaron in school, like just showing, being like, yeah, that's how a shape-up should look. And seeing guys who had haircuts, looking at their hair, being like, yeah, shape-up should look like this. And like, I remember doing that. And also just always looking at people's hair on TV. So I remember that, I don't remember this guy's name, but I don't even remember a show. I don't know how old you guys are, but.
Old enough.
Old enough.
I don't know if you remember a show called Hang Time.
Hang Time.
And had Teddy in it, like Anthony Anderson. That's like his first show. And you know Anthony Anderson?
No.
What? From Blackish.
Blackish, yeah, I know Blackish.
The main actor.
Yeah, the comedian.
Yeah. So the first show was called Hang Time.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And he was Teddy, and he's a lot bigger there, and he used to shoot 3-pointers. And anyway, there was a guy in there, anyway, not Teddy. And I used to look at his haircut, being like, I want that haircut. So I was always looking at people's hair. So when I look back now, I'm like, I've always almost studied people's hair. Like, I was always interested.
You was passionate about it from then. You had the interest then.
Yeah,
obviously.
So it made sense. Now I look back, it made sense picking up the
I was
clippers.
going to say, right? Because it's funny when you look back at certain things, you may not even, you didn't realise at the time, but you were drawing shape-ups in the back of your, when you're supposed to be studying your maths and your English, you know, when your teacher asks you for your homework, you're like, but that's amazing, because actually there was an innate passion there, I think is what you're saying. And now looking back, you followed that innate passion probably without even realising it, out of necessity, out of the fact that you didn't have enough money to get a haircut yourself, out of the fact that your mum tried her best to cut your hair, but you probably weren't really feeling the cuts that she was giving you, so you said, you know what, and then, you know, it kind of stemmed from there, right? But you know what, the slogan on your website is, it's more than a haircut. So tell us why a trip to Slidercuts is about more than just getting a trim.
It's more than a haircut, because literally you get more than a haircut, which is you get community when you come in here. You get hopefully a great conversation, but no, you get a great conversation.
You get a lollipop.
Well, yeah,
you get free drink as well.
Well, at the moment, you get plantain chips. You know, you get coconut chips. You get drinks. You get sweets. You get hot chocolate, tea, latte, cappuccino, hot vinto, all of that kind of stuff there.
So why you ain't got no jollof rice at the machine?
because, you know, nobody wants cold jollof rice. You know, so you get all of those external factors, you know, of like, you know, food and crisp and stuff like that. But it's more than a haircut because of the experience you get when you're in here. And that is from the conversation. It's like a counseling session. So often, you know, talking to clients is like a counseling session, advice bureau. You know, like I get clients where they're in a chair for half an hour, and for half an hour they might speak to me about something, and then next week it'll end, then next week they'll jump in the chair and carry on the conversation from where they left it last week.
Wow. That's amazing.
But then you do find, in terms of anyone that deals with like hair, you do tend to become like a counsellor, because you're, I suppose, because you're so focused, you're so clear to like the minds and everything else, you actually, it's quite relaxing, isn't it? When you're getting your hair cut or getting your hair shaved and everything, you are so close to them there that it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I can understand how that can happen.
But also it's quite intimate, because not anybody can touch up my head, you know what I mean? So if I'm trusting, like for my hairdresser, for example, I trust her to do my hair. She's been my hairdresser for 20 years. And exactly that, when I go to her, it's more than just me getting my hair done, for example. Like she knows probably more about my life than anybody, just because it's somewhere that I can just be free and unleash. And actually, I know that whatever's said in her chair stays in her chair.
Yeah, you know? And also you can sense when something's not up. You know, like you can sense it, because when I used to do hairdressing, it's like I can just sense it. As soon as I touch your hair, it's like, is everything all right? And then like, why do you ask? I just said, just asking, and then, you know, that conversation will come. So I can understand that, how it becomes like a counselling session. It
definitely is a counselling session. And I think it's also more than a haircut, because you come into what I'd call like a family. So many of my clients, I have dealt with them or helped them on a different level outside of barbering, you know, and that could be from advice, time, recommendation, money,
business advice, for sure, as well.
Helping their business, to just like various different things. So it's more than a haircut, literally, because you get more than a haircut. You know, you get all of the above: the advice, the counselling, the friendship, the input. You know, I'm not saying I just borrow everyone money, but if I have and you need it, if I have and
you'd have a queue out the door if that was the case.
You know, if I have it and you need it, then why not? You know, so.
But you're a community man, by the sounds of it, in terms of if you want to, you know, if somebody needs something, you're willing to give if you've got it. That just shows that you are about your community. Which is beautiful, because even like with you even having the youth like doing apprentice and everything as well, coming in to be able to explore that area in their life as well, I think that's really commendable as well. It
is. And you know, I mean, we met because when, you know, we started the show, because I was like, okay, we got to get Mark on, because I met you, and I met you briefly. I interviewed you, but there was just something that resonated from you, and then, you know, I saw your Insta page. I was like, wow, I'm so kind of enthralled by you and your story and your business and everything, right? So thank you again for having us here to interview you.
Well, thank you for thinking I'm someone of, I don't know, of value to interview.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a great role model.
Right, absolutely. But not only are we a great role model, you have a pretty impressive client list.
Oh, yeah.
Right? From sportsmen to TV personalities. We've mentioned Anthony Joshua, Reggie Yates, Stormzy. So when you started cutting hair at 13 years of age, when you first picked up those clippers and you bodged up your head and you had to shave it all off and start again and, you know, practice until you were perfect. Did you have any idea at that time that you would go on to become a barber to the stars?
No, not at all, because I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. So there wasn't even a career I was even thinking about at that time. It was literally cutting my hair, and my little cousin was there. I cut his hair, then my little cousins might come from like Nigeria. It's like, cool, another opportunity to cut someone else's hair. You know, so I just really just enjoyed it. So I wasn't thinking anything about career, business, who I'd be cutting later on in life or anything like that. It was just cutting.
But you know something is, as you're saying this, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you both heard of Dr. Miles Monroe. And he taught so much about really not focusing on the money. It's really offering a service. And you providing a service, and it's your passion. So it doesn't really amaze me that you are obviously attracting these icons as well, because you're not focused on that. You're focused on, it's your craft, it's your passion.
Definitely,
you know?
And do you remember when we had Mark Prince on the show? So we had Mark Prince on the show. One of the things that he says was, don't chase the money. You chase the dream. So you have a passion or a dream. That's what you focus on. And guess what? Everything else, all the other blessings come afterwards. So
no, I say a similar thing, which is just don't focus on the money, focus on the craft.
There you go. Right?
Just because the craft is what's there to make you money, so people don't realize that focusing on the craft inadvertently is focusing on the money as well. Because if you provide people with a good product, whether that is a customer service to the actual physical product you're giving, the haircut, if you give people a good product, they'll be willing to pay for that. So just focus on building a good product. And what I mean by product, I mean from the service to that, to the haircut example. If you're like you do pottery, to what you're molding or whatever it is, focusing on, giving out a good product, and people will be willing to pay. We're fortunate because we're in the Western world, where there is money here. So, and people want quality. So if you put out a quality product, people will buy it. So that's why I always tell people that, don't worry about the money for now if you don't have to. Because I obviously know people in different situations. You might need money now because you're an adult and you've got bills to pay, and you've got, you might have a family, and you're switching to a new career. And that's why I was even talking to someone today about it, where he's 20. I don't want to put his business out there, but he's 29 years old and he wants to start barbering. I've never met him, but I just spoke to him on the phone and I said, well, you can come and learn if you want to, but have you, how are you living? Because you're not going to be making any money for a while. So can you support yourself?
You have to be realistic, and sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to see how much you really want it. Because even as, I'm not saying that you can't change your career at 29 or 30 or 40. Of course it's possible, but it's how much you really want it and how much you're prepared to actually, be inconvenienced. Because if you're used to making a certain amount of money, say 30, 40,000, and then all of a sudden you're going to be probably about, say 12,000. Are you willing to drop down to that for something that you potentially are interested in going into?
And have faith as well, right? So it's a bit of a leap of faith when you kind of follow your dream and really believing that it may not be now, it may not be next week, it might not even be next year, but eventually the success will come. So we spoke about...
It doesn't always come. That's why I said you've got to love what you do. Because if you're in it to be just in it to be big, in it to be a celebrity, in it to be noticed and stuff like that, then there are a lot of other things you can do to be noticed. You can go on Instagram and make a fool of yourself and go viral if you want. If it's just about being noticed, then there's so much things you can do to be noticed. So whatever craft you're in, you've got to really be in it because you enjoy and the craft you're doing. And it can't be for the, do
it for the love.
I'm a barber because I want to be famous.
Come on, chronic.
It can't be. I'm a barber because I want to be famous. I just want to be known by everyone. It's it sounds like more so you just want to be famous in something.
But that's kind of a similar thing to chasing the money side of things rather than actually focusing on the craft or the dream or the passion, right?
But then when you look at the day and age that we're living in, I suppose when you look at Instagram, the old social media kind of lifestyle. People are just wanting, I need to get myself out there and everything else, so let me see what I can do. So whereas I would always say, look at what you don't mind getting paid for. You don't get paid, you still love doing it. That's, to me, is your passion. That's something that you should be doing because that's something, you don't even care if you don't get paid. But you will lose sleep for it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what you should go for.
Definitely.
Because then at least it will continue with that longevity to continue to do what you're doing.
Absolutely, So you have got a fantastic client book, as we've said. But what we want to know is, who has been your most memorable client and why?
Who's my most memorable client? Well, I guess they're all memorable because I still cut most of them now. Unless we're just talking about randomly someone who I cut, who I guess, well, this is not my most memorable client, but I guess it's not even a funny story. I cut Dwayne Wade and I didn't know who he was.
Really?
Yeah. You know, and I asked him what's your name. I said, oh, so what's your name? And he's like, oh yeah, I think he said, oh, D Wade. I was like, oh, and in my head thinking, I feel like I've heard that name before.
Was he quite humble? Yeah.
How can you not know my name?
No, he didn't say that. No, he introduced himself.
Right.
So he introduced, yeah, I'm like D Wade, or he said Dwayne, one of the two. But he introduced himself when I asked him what his name is, and I was like, because I wasn't into basketball, and I didn't know at the time. I was like, I've been asked to cut someone's hair. I was like, oh yeah, like.
But you talking of basketball though, you've cut LeBron James' hair as well, right?
Yeah.
Did that come through D Wade?
No.
Trying to make a connection.
No. It was on the same kind of like, when they were here for the Olympics, I was basically one of the barbers to cut like any of their hair not whenever they wanted it, but every 5 days. They were here for like 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So I cut them on like 3-4 occasions. And
how did that come about? Like being the barber to the
NBA All-Star
NBA
team.
All-Star, literally,
yeah.
That came through a basketball player called Mciver, who's a British GB player. So I started cutting him, I don't know, over 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Just randomly, see, it's, you know, the connection is weird because even who recommended him to come to the barbershop doesn't make sense because he had never been to the barbershop. But Lethal B recommended Mciver, his cousin, to come to the barbershop, to come to DNL's, even though Lethal B had never been to DNL, so I don't know who he heard it from. You know, so, and Mciver's the basketball player, he said, yeah, go to that shop. So he came to that shop one day, it was a Wednesday. Don't ask me why I remember it was a Wednesday, but I just know because I remember who was working and whose day off it was. And he was just there waiting, and I remember I had like the most clients in the shop, and I was getting through all the clients, and I remember I was annoyed because the other barbers were here and they're just frapping around, just kind of like I was thinking to myself, why am I cutting I've got the most clients here, but I'm getting to all the clients here. But I was like, cool, I'm just gonna get to all of them. And I remember I cut this guy's hair, Pops, and he liked the haircut, cool, he got a haircut, we didn't talk, left. I think he came back next year, and I cut him again. But he's tall and he's got like an American accent. So I think it was either that time or the time after, I just said, oh, you know, like, what do you do? Because I was thinking, you're tall.
You look like you do sparks.
And he's like, you know, oh, I'm a boss. And he had an American accent. He goes, oh, I play basketball. You know, I think at the time he was playing for the Houston Rockets. He said he got a scholarship when he was 16 to America.
Wow.
And that's how he started, long and short of it, that's how he started playing NBA. So every time he came back, but he's from Tottenham originally, so he comes back to see his family.
Oh, wow.
So every time he came back, I'd cut his hair now. So I was cutting his hair, and this is what I always tell people is, when I cut him, I didn't know who he was. I had no clue whatsoever. I just gave him a haircut. The next time I cut him, I have no clue who you are.
Service, man.
I just gave you a haircut, and that's why it's all about like every seed you put out there. Try and make sure it's a good seed because you don't know which ones are going to be watered and grown.
That's right.
That
You know,
is so true.
I'm cutting his hair now, and obviously he's an NBA player. So when the Olympics were coming over here, he knows the basketball players. So they're like, oh, well, you know, any good barbers in London or in England? And he goes, yeah, come see my barber.
Wicked.
You know, and then I cut his hair before one of the games, and they're like, yeah, we like that haircut. So when they called me up to go to cut their hair, they had 2 other barbers there. So I was like, okay, cool. And this is another thing about arriving on time. Because I got there on time and I got there early, before any of the basketball players even came, I was the first one there. I cut one of the basketball players' managers or publicists or PRs, something along the lines. So I cut a few of them. I cut the manager, then I cut another manager or PR, just one of the friends and stuff like that. So that means I cut their hair. So everyone's like, rah, he done us a good job. So what happened then was, majority of the people came to me because they're like, they've seen the work I've done now. So they're like, let's just stick with him because we've seen that he done it well. Doesn't mean the other barber wouldn't have done it well, but now they just kind of like, no, go to my man, go to my man, go to my man. So I cut majority of them, and then even like when LeBron came in, because even at that time I didn't know who LeBron was. I just heard his name all the time, like you know, all the time you say LeBron James in basketball. So he walked into the room. I was cutting someone's hair, and he goes, "Oh, which one of you cut pups?" I was like, "Me." I was like, "Yeah, me." He goes, "Yeah, you're my barber."
Straight up.
But there's something you mentioned as well earlier. You said about being on time.
Yeah.
Why would you say about being on time? What is it you're saying in terms of, because you cut everybody's hair, but you said something about being on time.
Well, even if you're on time, you're late. That's what you say.
Because I think sometimes we need to also explain that to like the viewers, because sometimes there's maybe people that, because even from where I work, I've got a young girl, I call her my daughter, and I was speaking to her about, you know, being on time doesn't mean this time that you start. It means coming like say 10, 15 minutes early. That means
to start at the time that you start.
Her attitude is, well, I'm not getting paid for it, but I'm saying it's not about being paid. It's about knowing that you're reliable, that you're being there on time, being prepared, anything could happen. Do you know what I mean, kind of thing. So could you kind of explain that more to the viewers who may always have an issue with not being on time? Just saying, this is a platform to inspire everybody. So we want to inspire you who may be late all the time.
Well, my policy is early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable.
Wow.
And early is on time basically just means simply being early is on time. On time cannot be on time because you're not ready to start whatever you're doing. So you should always be to wherever you're going, be there early and prepare yourself, set yourself. If it's being a barber, warming up my clippers, changing into my barber clothing, putting on my gloves, switching on the lights, switching on the TV, putting on the heating, checking everything is ready. And then at the time which you actually start, you should be ready to start that service. So when people are strolling in, let's say you start at 9 and you're strolling in at 9 and someone's got an appointment at 9, you're not starting a haircut till 10 past. So you're late. So you should have come at like 1:45. So you were ready to start at 9 o'clock. And it means that you're not, anything that happens along the way, which could be a temporary traffic light, roadworks, accident, you know, missing the bus delayed, train cancelled. If you leave to get there early, it means that you're preparing for the unforeseen thing, which could be that. So you might get to work a couple minutes before 9 or just at 9 because your train was cancelled, because the delays and things like that. But because you set to get here early, it still allowed you to get here just about on time.
Yeah.
So that's why I always think I arrived there like early. And I think I got it from, no, I didn't even think, I got it from my mum. Because my mum used to make us go everywhere early, but stupidly early.
Like how early?
Like 2 hours beforehand.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So like I remember going to church, and we were always the first people at church. Like we were there before, like we'd be there waiting, and like the janitor would come to open up. And so we just have to set up all the chairs because we were there, the first ones there.
Wow.
Like I remember going to, when I was young and I was doing acting, I had an audition to be in Grange Hill. I remember getting there, I think the audition might have been like 3 o'clock or something, and we were there like 1 o'clock. I remember just sitting there,
Wow.
just sitting there, just waiting, you know, but my mum was always on this, get there early, you know. And I haven't taken it to that extreme in my life now. I'm not getting nowhere 2 hours early.
But still, but it's a good characteristic to have, because even when I went to Bible school as well, that was one of the things that they taught us. You be on time. It doesn't mean you come at the time you're supposed to be here. That means you're late. You know, you've got to get at least 15, 30 minutes, whatever. That means you're on time. So I was like, well, I ain't getting there until when I need to. But then when you start to go through life, you understand the importance of not being late. And I hate being late. Even like today I was late for the interview. I'm so sorry. But but you know, generally because it just kind of throws you off, you know. So
throws everything off.
You open up more opportunities for yourself when you're on time, especially when it's to do with anything to do with work as well. Like in this situation, the reason why I got majority of the team, I think I cut about 24 people that day. No, 16 people. About 20 to 24 people got haircuts that day. I cut 16 of them, and the other 2 barbers cut the rest of them. And that was because I was there early, ready, set up, waiting.
Good to go.
You know, even when I cut Dwayne Wade, it was literally the same thing as well. I'd come on another day to I can't remember, cut someone's hair, but I was there early, and he wasn't there to. He just flew into the country just to watch a game. He wasn't. He was just kind of just come to see his friends, I guess. And he was like, "Oh, there's a barber here," basically. And the woman was like, "Yeah, like, you know, yeah, you can get a haircut." And that's why I cut his hair, because I was there, I was ready, you know. So I always say, you know, opportunity will not always ring beforehand. Sometimes,
and it doesn't wait, you know, opportunity waits for no man. That is so true.
Opportunity sometimes will just knock on your door.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
unexpected is unexpected. So what do you do when an opportunity knocks? Do you say, come back another day?
Come back in 10 minutes? No.
Come back in 10 minutes?
No. You got to be ready.
Yeah.
So true. Well, talking of that, actually, we've spoken about your massive social media following, and I'm well impressed by that. You've got more than 65,000 followers on Instagram. But what I really love about your social media presence is your morning greeting on your Insta stories. So, I know it, right? It's like the gloves are on, the clippers are warm, the shutters are up. Let's go.
This
And then you're like,
go. No, you say it.
Yeah,
You please say it to come on. Go on.
I won't say it with the same energy. I'm not trying to blow the mic. I say morning Insta. I am back in the barbershop. My gloves are on. The clippers are warmed up. The TV is on. The shutters are up.
Yeah.
No, and the shutters are up. So let's go. You know?
Where did the idea come from? Yeah,
You know
like where did it come from?
It evolved, because if you are like anyone who's like, let's say you could call them loyal, like, you know, followers, you know, from way back, you notice that it changed. Because I used to say my boots are on, or the boots are laced up, because it started off, it wasn't a greeting, it was me actually, it started off with this morning message still being on time. The funny thing is, it's actually all about being on time, but people have just kind of like, morning Insta, they love that part and let's go, but they don't realize the whole, you know, message behind it is actually being on time. Because it was me showing everyone on Instagram that, let's say I start at 9 o'clock, it's 5 to 9, and I'm letting you know that how it originally started is my boots are on, because I used to change into work boots. My boots are on and they're laced up. My gloves are on, the clippers are warmed up, you know, the lights are on, the TV switched on, and I was just listening to people saying, listen, all these things are done now, and now I'm ready to cut hair, and my first client is in 5 minutes. So this is what you should be doing. You shouldn't be coming in because you have all these things to still do. So that was the message I was trying to send people, to be like, look, I'm ready and prepared for work. But then it just started being a thing which I just kept on doing. Like, look guys, you know, next day. Because also I want people to know it's not a one-off. Like, this is what I'm doing.
This is your routine.
Every day. I'm here early and I'm prepared and ready. So look, once again, the next day I start working, let's say 9 o'clock. My gloves are on, the clippers are warmed up, my boots are laced up, the lights are on, you know, the TV switched on, the aircon's on. I'll just listen to all the things in the shop that I have to do to get ready. So I was letting people know this is what I do. Then it's like the next day, same thing, you know, the gloves are on, the clippers are warmed up, and you know, then it's like, I might be starting at 6 a.m. It's like, look, I'm starting at 6 a.m., but look, I'm still here beforehand, ready to start at the time which the first client is. And it just started becoming the thing which was constantly, I was just doing every day, and suddenly it became this thing where it became kind of like a rhythm to it, and then started, I guess, adding more energy. And also, it was also the thing of like, you know, I'm here in the morning, but I'm not miserable. So that's what it is. I'm not miserable. I'm here at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning or at 4 in the morning, but I'm not miserable. You know, so it is kind of like I'm smiling. I've got energy, you know, because I'm ready for the day. And also, I used to say to people, if you wake up early, even if it's a super early day for you, and you're able to sit up for 10-15 minutes before you have to do anything, you have a lot more energy in that day than if you wake up, jump out your chair, you know, jump out your bed, brush your teeth, bath, and leave. Everything is so tight. If you give yourself more time, you have a lot more energy, because I've realized when I rush the day, I feel more exhausted than when I give myself more time. Even though you technically feel like, well, you're losing out on a bit more sleep. You know, so that's what it was. It's just kind of like, you know, you're almost trying to tell people about timekeeping and being prepared and being ready. And also, it just kind of evolved, and it's like, you know, also start your day the way you mean to go on, which means being on time. You want to be on time for everything and not being hot and flustered by, you know, taking your time. And also start your day with good energy, start your day with, you know, with a smile on your face, you know, and start your day happy, because start your day the way you mean to go on, and that's how I try to start my day every day. And that's how I start my day every day.
No, that definitely comes across, right?
And the thing is, what's good about it, it shows your routine, your daily routine, you know, because sometimes it is about creating a routine, creating a good habit. Because sometimes, like you said, if you don't get up and you do all of these things, then obviously it's going to have a knock-on effect. Then you'll be running late for your first guest and blah, 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 your client and things like that. And even for what I will say as well is, even if you do work for any other organization, it may not necessarily be your business per se, but invest in yourself. At least try and do at least 3 things for yourself. Whatever your passion is, you know, get up, like Mark said, get up even early. So you're investing in yourself first before you start investing in somebody else's business. So get up 5 o'clock, you know, you could be potentially starting work at 9, but you could still get up and read, you could still do your meditation, you could pray, give thanks, do whatever it is that you need to do to invest in yourself first before you go and start and investing in somebody else's business. So create new, you know, positive habits.
That's very true. Yeah, so true, so true. So I want to talk about branding now, because do you know what is really impressed, and I think Kaz and I have spoken about this as well, is that you've managed to turn what some might consider a regular profession, you know, a very much needed profession, but just a regular profession, into a powerful, super powerful brand. How did you achieve this? Was it intentional? And did you ever think that Slidercuts from when you were sliding in your living room and, you know what I mean, like MCing, did you ever think that it would go this far?
Well, it wasn't the plan in my living room, sliding up and down. This was not the plan at all. And the brand, it's funny because I don't know what my brand looks like, and I don't know where my brand is because I'm in it. So even when people talk to me about the brand, I can't see it. I wish sometimes I could step outside of it and see it the way everyone else sees it, but I can't see it. So it is weird when people talk to me about, you know, it's big, but it's like, I don't know, what do I even measure it by? How big is it? You know, obviously I know, you know, it's out there, but I can't really see it. I wish I could really see it through the lens of someone else. But
how important is social media to that brand as well, would you say?
But social media is imperative to it. You know, I'm branding. You know, I know I'm branding. I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'm aware. I'm just happy that people, some of the core values of what I stand for and what my brand stands for, I'm just happy when I hear people say those things there, because like, okay, cool, but I'm doing the right things because those things are getting out there and people see that. But it's not only simply just about, you know, just trusting and believing. It is like there is strategies to branding and putting yourself out there and looking at your brand, your product, you know, who you are, you know, and actually saying what does it stand for. And I guess I've been branding from before I even knew I was branding, because just having core values around your business is actually branding. But a lot of people don't put core values around their business. They just kind of like
just go with the flow.
Just go with the flow. Whereas I've had core values around my business. I've had, you know, what I stood for, you know, what like I would represent, what I wouldn't represent, you know, what I would stand next to and what I wouldn't stand next to. And I wasn't doing it to brand, but I realized looking back, well, that is branding, because that's what companies do. What does our brand stand for? You know, so when I started understanding these things, I started telling people, you know, actually, you know, that's what you should be doing. Like, you know, what does your business stand for? You know, do you have a website? You know, do you have a, what's the feel of your business? You know, do you have a color scheme? You know, do you have a logo? You know, do you have an opening and closing time? Do you have an ethos?
Exactly,
you know, what does your brand stand for? And I guess as a barber, maybe not a lot of barbers at the time which I was doing it were branding themselves. They were just kind of going, well, I guess everybody brands themselves, whether you know it or not. You brand yourself. You can just have a bad brand in the sense of like it stands for nothing.
Or it's a bit all over the place.
It hasn't got any kind of like structure. It's not solid. It's kind of like it's like a broken jigsaw piece. It's like not broken. It's like a puzzle, which is just kind of like not broken, scattered puzzle. You know, so you've got a bunch of things that your brand does, but it doesn't really stand for anything, whereas represent anything properly. And I guess for me, because I had things that my brand represented, and then with social media, it meant that I was able to put those values out on the camera. Because I remember doing videos 3 years ago when Instagram was still doing only 15-second clips. And I remember I used to pay a videographer to come and do videos with me, and we used to do like haircut videos, and we used to do videos with me talking to the camera, putting out the things I believe and stand for, as in the sense of like around barbering. So I remember there'd be videos like, you know, come with no grease in your hair. You know, then there'd be like, then there'd be like a customer which comes greasing his hair, and I'd be like, you got grease in your hair, and he'd be like, oh, but, and it's funny because now I think when I look back, right, what me and this guy Derek did in that time, I look back now, I think it's quite like, not like tooting my own trumpet because I wasn't doing the videos, it was Derek. But it's quite amazing that we were squeezing in so much information into 15 seconds. Because we were getting like a client being like, you got grease in your hair. And he'd be like, oh, this and that. And I'm like, then he catch me on the camera saying, don't come with grease in your hair. You know? or being late. We get a client being late and we talking about don't be late, you know. And we were just capturing all these moments, and in 15 seconds we were really putting out, you know, these messages. And I didn't realize at that time that I was really pushing this brand and this brand identity, but I was just having fun with it and just pushing myself out there. Like it wasn't a structured plan to, you know.
Yeah, but that's beautiful because the thing is, you're just, like you said, you're having fun with it, and it's like, oh my God, I said don't come with grease in your hair. Look, illustration. This is why you don't, you know. And but this is great tips. Do you know what I mean? And that's what people's buying into. So you're still again going back to service
and adding like layers to, you know, back to my point about some people would just consider it a regular profession, but you've actually added like a whole new dimension to what barbering is all about, and even for me, like totally transformed it into a different light. And branding, I mean, Kaz, we spoke about like you got the logo going on,
the sponge,
you got the morning mantra, but the shoes, hello,
hey,
can you just turn the shoes to the side, and you know what I mean, like
the shoes. Look on the lace, them. Oh, God.
You know, so it may not have been. It may not have been planned at the time, but you had the foresight and the vision and actually the talent, and I would even go as far as to say the gift and all of the kind of the structure. You understood the importance of putting the structure around it, and you've managed to do that really successfully. So I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you. I guess I understood running a business before I even really understood what running a business was or building a brand. You know, it's now I've put it all together, and like I can, you know, I do talks, and it's like I understand what I've done. Now it's like but at the time I was doing it subconsciously, but not having the structure around it. But you know, I always tell people, listen, from the beginning I was like, social media, like, is powerful because these social media platforms have put the power into your hands. They've gone out there and gathered up all the followers. So you know, Instagram, we've got like 800 million users. They went and got the 800 million. You know, Facebook has probably something like 1.5 billion. YouTube have like 1.5 billion views a week or something like that. Maybe even more than that. You know, Snapchat, you know,
so you got
300,000.
Yeah, ready-made.
300 million, sorry. Twitter 300 million, and it's like these have got all these users there. So there's and that's what you say. There's an audience for you. You cannot tell me out of 800 million, 300 million, 1.5 billion, you're telling me nobody on there wants what you are selling. You just don't know who that person is. But not even somebody, some bodies, you know, want what you are selling and what you're about. It's about tapping into that. So I was like, you know, you got to use social media and find these people. You know, businesses will be like, I'm not on social media. I'd be like, why not? I remember arguing with someone because they said to me they don't think they could get clients from social media, and I'm like, but you're a barber, so just put your haircuts out there.
But I think it depends on the individual as well, because you know, like when you're stuck in your ways and you know you're not really changing with the times, they don't really understand it, and they're quite comfortable where they are. Then that's their prerogative. I'm not saying that social media is bad, because obviously we depend on social media, but what I'm saying
is good and bad.
It does have its good and bad. That's like anything. But you do have those individuals that are just like, I just don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing, you know, and they're quite comfortable where they are.
But I think it's also cultural as well, because the new generation gets it and understands it because they've grown up with it. But I think it's the generation preceding that maybe it wasn't a natural part of your growth, that it has to really buy into it. And people are slowly but surely buying into it and understanding that you do need to have a social media presence. I mean, you're a prime example of that. 65,000 followers. Hello. Like, that's more than like some, you know, really
real
celebrities out there. So it's really impressive, you know. And
but it's your consistency as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. And I think, because even I messaged one of my family members and I said, you know, we're going to be interviewing you. He's like, yeah, he's a top-notch guy, blah blah blah. And I was like, he's like, when you're interviewing Kaz, I'm like, well, I'm away now, you know. So, you know, it's just because people are seeing you consistency, and that's key. You know, it's being consistent.
But what I also love about you is that it's not just about you, Mark, Slidercuts, and, you know, going back to that whole community ethos thing. Your business offers work experience and apprenticeships to young people wanting to get experience in the industry. And actually, when we came in earlier, right, we saw one of your apprentices in here, and you said it was his first day on the job. Wonderful. So tell us why passing your skills on to young people in the community is important.
I think it's important because I think it's a good trait to pass on to people, one, and we can help each other. You know, just being very frank about it, we can help each other. You know, we so often look to the government, look to the leaders, look to everybody else and talk about they've done this and they've done that, conspiracy this, conspiracy that, they don't want us to do this, they don't want us to do that. And I'm not saying none of these things are true or untrue, but we so often look at everybody else and never look at ourselves. And I've always said this to people, what are you doing?
Come on.
So it's great that person's not doing this, but what are you doing? Are you just someone who's just sitting there talking about, well, you know, the government this and the prime minister that and you know, the leaders of this and the musicians and all of these different people, you're blaming everybody else, looking at everyone else, and just like, what are you doing?
Come on now.
You know, and then people love to say this thing, oh well, what can I really do? You know, I can't do what they can do. It doesn't matter. But with the resources you have, what are you doing?
And what can you do?
You know, you can help one person.
That's right.
I said, if you help one person, she helps one person. He helps one person. She helps one person. If she just helps one person, and not even properly, just like with once a month, she gives this person time, and that's all she can give this person, or he can give this person, or once every 6 months. I said, if we all just gave a little bit, it would add up to be a lot. So I think it's very important that we don't be people which point the fingers unless we're pointing at ourselves and asking ourselves, what are we doing? What am I doing? So I think it's important for me to give back where I can give back and to help where I can help. And it's not always to do with gain, because I've helped train up people which I gain nothing from it. I don't make no money from you. You're not part of my business. You're not part of my brand. You know, I get nothing in a sense from that. And people said to me, but so why would you do that then? And I've just been like, why not? Why must we always gain from everything we do? In a sense of why must we financially gain, or I just don't understand why we have to gain. But then on the other side of things, talk about those people are selfish, you know, they're always about themselves and they always want something back. And I've just grown up listening to all these conversations and hearing the hypocrisy of it, and it's just been like, you know, like I sometimes feel like children see the truth most of the time, and it gets drummed out of them as they get older, and they become the hypocrites as well. You know, we're all hypocrites to some degree, right? But it's almost like a child will bring up the fact that your mum will say, don't lie, don't lie. If you lie, I'm gonna smack you.
I didn't lie.
And then the phone will ring and say, tell them I'm not around.
But you said I wasn't lying.
But a child will pick it up straight away and be like, wait, you told me not to lie. You know, but then as they get older,
they become reconditioned is what happens.
You know, so I'm saying we see, as children, I think we see the things, and sometimes we need to put on like our child lenses on just to see things as they are. You know, you're complaining, you're saying this, but it's like, what are you actually are you actually doing? So for me, I think it'd be unfortunate if I built up a good platform and a good reputation and I didn't use that to actually help people. And when I mean help people, I mean like literally help them without, in the sense of like I'm helping this boy who's here, I'm helping him out. But he doesn't have to pay. If any, actually, I'm actually gonna, you know, I'm just gonna be helping him. I don't want to like talk about how I'm helping him out.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna be helping him out where I can help him out because I can.
Yes.
You know.
I love that because you can.
You know.
And the thing is, it's gonna help him as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you're dedicating that time to him. You don't have to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? But because you can, you will do it. And it's also passing on that kind of way of thinking that if I'm in a position I can help somebody, then I'm going to help that person. It's not. It can't always be about yourself. And also, it's passing on that legacy. That legacy of, yeah, Slidercuts, yeah, he trained me up and bloody blah. Do you know what I'm saying? It can't just stay with you one. And I think that's the thing as well for us as well, because we tend to be looking at like leaders to do X, Y, Z. But then something I listened to the other day with Lisa Nichols, is she said sometimes people look at you, say to her that, you know, you're so great, you this, that, and the other, you know, what you're doing, etc. And she said, yeah, but you're just using me as an excuse for you not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So meaning that there's things for you to do also, but why are you not doing it? Do you know what I mean? So what you're doing is wonderful.
Everyone can do something.
But everyone should be doing something.
Everyone can do
It's
something.
about mentorship, nurturing, giving back. And I would even kind of go against what you said in terms of you're not getting anything from it. You are. There is something.
No, you get something.
I know, financially.
I mean, like financially, that to be fair, no. With the guy I'm training up now, I will benefit from that as well because he'll train up and he'll end up working in my shop.
That's right.
Right now. So to make that clear, I will benefit from him working here because you're gonna help my brand.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, it's not, just to make it clear. Remember, I opened up this shop like 7 weeks ago. Prior to that, I've been helping and training up people, which for not my brand, to work under other people's brands. And these barbers which I'm talking about are working under someone else's brand right now. You know, and I still talk to them. You know, I still call them and still check in on them. And I don't gain money. You don't help my brand because you don't represent my brand. You don't wear my label or my tag. So just to make it clear, it's not like suddenly, because someone will just say, oh yeah, but he's going to work for your shop, in your shop. You know, and these guys, at times, which they will know, it was costing me money at times helping these people in a sense, because they was filling up chairs when they weren't paying and just being trained up, which someone else could have been, you know, renting
it out,
and paying for. So
you're building a culture.
I'm just trying to. I just feel like, you know, we always look to everyone else and it's like, you know, why don't we do the part we can do, and then when we reach quote unquote the ceiling, then we can start talking about, okay, let us through now, what you're doing and stuff like that. But how about we just, you know, build a foundation of what we can do, you know, because I think we're looking way past ourselves and being like, almost like, you know, well, there's institutional racism and there's, you know, they won't allow us to this and they won't allow us to that. And so much people are talking about things they won't be allowed to do and they're not even close to that step yet. You're talking about levels 10. You haven't even gone past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10. And you're talking about what is happening at level 10 and what they're not going to let you do at level 10. It's like, have you even come anything close to that? How about
just do the
how about you get to where you can get to, and then if you get stopped up there, then you can start complaining about it, right? But until you get there, don't use that level 10 as an excuse as to why you can't get past level 1.
But sometimes it's fear though. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes as much as we say it's an excuse, but a lot of it is fear as well. It's overcoming that fear and dealing with it to be able to say, okay, you know, there's nothing wrong with if you fail. Do you know what I mean? And that's a lot of the times why a lot of us won't say continue to do that 9 to 5 because it pays the bills, etc. But you hate the job as much as whatever. But because of the fear of not having that stability, you make up excuses to why you can't do X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean, kind of thing, or you blame the government, etc.
It's true. You blame someone else. But I also think that fear obviously allows people to create excuses for not being able to do stuff and pointing fingers and whatever. But if you are really determined to do something or you've got yourself focused on something, guess what? You've got to put in hard work. So if you create all of these excuses that are barriers, you could, or you're absolving yourself almost from the hard work. And I think some people do that as well. So there is the fear, but also some people are just downright lazy.
Some people just can't be bothered. And I know people who would rather have an excuse to fail than actually trying and succeeding, because they just can't be bothered. So they look for excuses to say, I couldn't make it. Why? Because I ran out of petrol. I couldn't make it because I had to go drop my brother to the airport. Because they'd rather excuse as to why they couldn't actually attempt doing the thing than actually doing it and failing.
That's right.
You know, and I know quite a few people which are like that. So,
but I think through what you're doing, you are truly inspiring the younger generation anyway to have a different mindset and just honest. And to be honest, I
think it's just being honest. I think so many of us are so caught up in the images and the brands that we've created of ourselves that we're scared to be honest. So, like, I guess I'm not scared to be honest. Like, I'm broke right now. I have no money. I'm in a load of debt for setting up this business. I can't. And people keep saying to me, "Don't stop saying you're broke. Stop saying you're broke." But I am broke and in debt. I haven't got any money. Why keep up a front? Because I said my issue is, and I remember how this started. Because someone asked me the other day, and I actually just dissected it to understand. I remember how it all started. It all started about 9 years ago, when me and my wife were dating. 8, 9 years ago, when we were dating before we were married. I had a friend, 2 friends actually, who different occasions they'll talk to me about, I don't know if it's the girls they're seeing or the girls they're talking to and stuff like that. And one of the guys, both of them on different occasions said to me, "Oh, you know what? I just kind of want a relationship which is like yours." You know, so I just feel like the girl I'm seeing, one of them said the girl I'm seeing is just kind of like just not the one, because like, you guys don't argue, you guys don't do this, you guys don't, all these assumptions. But back then was a lot more private about my life. I didn't want people to know what's going on in my life. Of course, me and my girl did argue. My wife now, we did argue, but I just didn't put it out there. I didn't want to talk about my business. And I felt like I really felt convicted by God when these 2 different people had said that they basically wanted relationships like mine, and they didn't know what my relationship was like. So it just seemed good, because when you take a picture together, it looks great. When we walk down the street, it looks great. You know, they just saw that these little pieces of it. And I was convicted that people only see what you show them. And some people will then miss out on great opportunities, and in this situation, a great person for them, because they believe in this idea of perfection which doesn't exist, because that's all they have seen. So I remember awkwardly having to, because I didn't like the feeling of having to talk about my relationship and be actually, we have these issues and we have that, and we actually argue, and we actually, all this kind of stuff which I didn't want to talk about. But I realized we have to put that out there, or else you're setting people up to fail, because someone might get into my situation right now and think to themselves, you know, well, Mark done it, and you know, he just done it easy. How did he do it? How did he do it and not manage to get himself in debt? It's like, no, I'm in debt. No, I'm now, there's things which I've defaulted on, you know, and it's like, rah, I missed that payment. And because of building this business, you know, there are things where it's like waking up, like, I don't know where I'm getting the money from. Maxed out all of my credit cards, you know, it's tight for me and my family, you know, it's, at times it causes problems, because, you know, it's like, it's not easy. So I realized I would rather put that real image, so that when they do it and they come across these hard times, it's just kind of like, they just know, actually,
it's not all plain sailing.
This is what it's like.
You know what? I respect that, because the thing is, I think that is what a lot of people don't see. They don't understand that, and they give up. Because they think, oh my gosh, I can't cope. You know, I don't have no money. I don't know even how I'm going to get through. The struggle is real, but sometimes there is going to have to be that sacrifice. You have to be inconvenienced. Do you know what I mean? You may have to downsize. You may have to go and rent a room, or whatever it is that you need to do to be able to do. You know, it's like you're walking by faith, isn't it? Because you have no idea how the end is going to be, or where tomorrow is going to end up. You understand what I'm saying? But that's how. That's just how life is. That's just the journey.
That is just the journey.
And that's what makes us feel uncomfortable, but it's how you deal with it, because then you find out about certain strengths that you have inside of you, and yourself and your wife and everything else. You overcome that, and then you look back and you think, bro, we can remember that when we was in that season, and now look where we are today. Do you understand what I'm saying? So Yeah,
and it all goes towards the destination.
Absolutely.
You know, the journey. The journey's never smooth, but the journey is important because the journey makes the destination that much more worthwhile. But we would love to chat to you for all night. I'm enthralled by you really and your story. But we've got a few more questions. We are going to have to wrap up soon, but we've got a few more questions to ask you. I know you've got to get home to your wife. Thank you, Mrs. Mciver, for loaning us your husband this evening. We really appreciate it.
He'll be sleeping by the time I get home now.
And your son. But just a few more things I want to touch on. From the age of 18, you spoke about D&L Barbers just down the road from me in Holloway. As you know, because I waltzed in there one day and I collared him for an interview. Literally.
Bad him up.
Why are you not returning my messages? I was like, whoa.
And this was like early in the morning, a shop full of clients, and I was like, nah, I'm going in there, right? Full steam ahead. But anyway, so from the age of 18, you worked in D&L Barbers before you opened this place 7 weeks ago. And, you know, you must have come across a lot of youngsters who have been negatively influenced by the surrounding environment, growing up in the ends, as we call it, right? So when you have a young man like that sitting in your chair, what advice do you give someone like that who may be facing the challenges associated with inner city life?
So much advice. It's an ongoing conversation. It's a relationship with my clients. So I'm constantly talking to them about the lives, and people are selling drugs, doing fraud, doing robberies, doing just different things, you know, bad things to make money. And I guess what's happened with me now is where I've been cutting hair for like about 16 years. I've now seen all those people when I was 18. Because look, take a step back. The funny thing which I find about in our community is that even if we're not on the wrong road, we seem to, for some reason, all have the same role models. And we all have the same role models. Well, for men anyway, definitely. I realize from where we're coming from, we look up to all the road guys. Even if we're not on that road. I wasn't on that path growing up. Like I never had any, like, you could say, what's the word? I never had any temptations to sell drugs. You know, I wasn't tempted to go and start doing robberies. You know, as far as it went for me, would have been petty. I'd take sweets. No, but you know, basically what I'm trying to say is, you know, I'm not saying I was perfect, I was a good boy, stuff like that. I'm saying I did things, but I wasn't like tempted to have a criminal life. In a sense, you know, I've done, you know, bad things. You know, I'm not gonna say it only because I don't want to promote it like it was. I'll give people ideas of things to do, you know, you know. But I mean, I never had this idea to be like a criminal. You know, I went to school and I was going to college. I was planning to go to university. I was planning to work a job. You know, before I worked in a barbershop, I was planning to work night shifts in Sainsbury's, but I still looked up. Like all the other guys which on the roads, I looked up to the same people. Those guys on the roads, the fraudsters, the drug dealers, the robbers, they were still my role models. Like them guys are the ones that they're making money and they're doing this,
right? You know?
Yeah, like I look back and said it's weird that even being someone who didn't want to pursue those type of careers, I still looked up to those people. And then what's happened now is, from, you know, the ages of, like, you know, 16 to now being 34, I've now seen all of these people, and a lot of the stuff which I've realized that these people were telling us when we were younger, I hear them telling them now, I realized it was just a bunch of lies. So now I just tell a bunch of young people just the truth now, because I realized that a lot of these guys didn't know what they're talking about, do not know what they're talking about.
So when you say there were lies, can you give an example? Or?
So I would hear them talking about things like, you know, buying properties as an example. They'll be like, yeah, listen, trust me, you're going to do this, you're going to buy yourself a property, or you're going to, you know, put that into the business, you know, they say you're going to make this money. And I just hear them saying all these things there. And when I was younger, I was like, yeah, that makes, yeah, it makes sense. I got older and I bought myself properties. I have set up businesses. I have closed businesses, you know, I've done different things. So now when I hear people talking, it's like, that's actually a lie. And it's like, right, actually that person doesn't know what he's talking about. That person's actually lying, because that's not how you buy a property. And hold up, how are you going to put money for your business and not?
And it's not legit.
No, you can put money for a business, not legit, but are you aware that I tell these people you're going to have to lose money on that because you have to pay taxes? You know,
you're not giving them the real story.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that's laundering money. Laundering money means that you're going to put it through as legitimate money, which means you now pay taxes. And I'm like talking to people and they're like, they don't know this. But I said, but I'm hearing you talking. Like, where did you hear this from? Oh, you're hearing him tell you this. And it's like, I'm hearing him say this. And the one's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And all these things now, which I'm now doing as an adult, I'm starting listening to them and being like, they actually don't know what they're actually just lying. They're just hearing stories and hearing other people say these things and then repeating it to younger people. Younger people believe them, but they're telling them dreams of things they haven't done themselves. You know, they can tell you about buying jewelry and buying watches, 100%. They can tell you about buying cars, 100%, buying clothing, 100%, but they cannot tell you about running business because none of them are running business. They're running
an illegal business.
Illegal business, but in the legitimate world, they're not running these businesses. Some are, but a lot of these people aren't. They haven't bought properties. They haven't, like, you know, they haven't done any of these things. I'm not saying, and I'm not putting things out there to be like, this is the be all and end all of like, this is the most important thing in life. I'm just saying, a lot of the things which we aspire to as young people, especially these young black boys, being me, being a young black boy, was, yeah, we're going to buy a property. And it's funny, because we have these ideas as well, which I tell these young people, that, you know, once you buy a property, it's over. Like as if, like, you know, like, yeah, that's the life goal, you bought a property, like...
No. You've got to maintain it, it's so much to go with it.
Well, I think it's just like, they're almost like, you know, a lot of these people end goals, right? So with the real guys I speak to, young people, their end goals are, they're going to set up a business or they're going to buy a property. This is their end goal. And I listen to them and it's like, how can that be an end goal? So what do you mean you're going to set up, what business? You know, and how are you going to keep the business running? Or you're going to buy a property and then do what? I said, you know, buying a property, renting a property, exactly the same thing. Not the same thing, but I mean, the same thing. What are you going to do to live? Because they act like as if once they get that, they're going to stop, you know, selling drugs, stop doing fraud, stop doing robberies. And it's like, but how are you going to make money?
But how are you going to maintain it?
But it's because the older lot, which is taught to them, have just sold them the dream of that's their end goal. You know, and I just started listening to all these things and hearing them and just be like, no, we need to correct the youth. And this is even like where shaping up culture, things like that come from as well. We need to correct what's being taught, the narrative in our culture.
So tell us about the initiative Shaping Up Culture. Tell us about it.
Shaping Up Culture started because when I moved to Dalston 7 years ago, I was excited when I first moved there because I grew up in an area where there wasn't, like when I was living in Gospel Oak, there wasn't like no Caribbean shops there were no Nigerian shops there. Shops closed at around 10 o'clock. You know, there are none of these shops selling plantain and stuff like that. You have to go kind of like into Holloway. You know, I had to go to Holloway or Dalston to get these things here. So when I moved to Dalston, I was excited because even at the end of my street, there was a Caribbean shop there. And you know, they had Nigerian shops around, you know, like a Nigerian. I was just like, yeah, and I remember speaking to my brother-in-law who's like, he loves Caribbean food as well. And I was like, yeah, I've got a Caribbean shop like 1 minute from where I'm moving to. So I moved there now because I bought the place when I moved there. So it was like 3 months. So I went there, saw the place, this and that, Caribbean shops open. 3 months later, completed, Caribbean shops closed down. It happens, shops close down all the time. But cool, doesn't matter, because there's loads in Dalston.
Yes, that's true.
A few months later, the next one closed down. Cool. Then that Nigerian place closed down. Then that next Caribbean place closed down. And I started noticing over like a few years, shops kept on closing down. Like I'm saying, why are all of these shops, these small, and obviously those small businesses, but why are all of these businesses closing down? Like why? What's happening? So start looking to it and everyone's shouting gentrification, gentrification, gentrification. It's like cool, but it has to be bigger than just gentrification. Like people are using the word but don't even understand it. So what's the breakdown as to why? Stop telling me gentrification.
What's actually
what is happening that they're actually closing down? Because why is that shop closing down but that shop's staying open? You know, and they're both from ethnic minorities. You know, so why, you know, your business is closing down? You know, gentrification. No, it can't. It just can't be gentrification. And it could be gentrification, but let's break it down as to what is it? What is the gentrification that's causing it? So I started looking into things slightly, just kind of like, just curious. You know, okay, cool, all right. So you know, Dalston's becoming a hot spot. So you know, they start upping business rates. Okay, so people start not being able to afford to stay in their places. You know, cost of living started going up, but their business wasn't taking in any more money. You know, no reason why they're closing down. More businesses started opening up in the area. You know, so now there's more competition. So I started looking at all these different things. I was like, okay, cool, but for me, these weren't good enough reasons why they should still close down. Because yes, things have gone up extremely, but I still think of, well, what did these people try? No promotions, not on social media, no adverts, no discounts. They're just like nothing to actually combat the fact of like the business is failing. And it's like, why did none of these businesses try any of these things? Because they just don't know. And some of them have been told it. Pride and arrogance was like, nah, I'm not doing that social media thing. Nah, we don't need that.
Yep.
All the things there. But I just started realizing that we are just not informed. You know, so I kept on talking about these things in the shop. So all this shaping up culture came from me talking about it and almost giving these unofficial sermons in the barbershop. And then I turned it into this online series of shaping up culture because I realized that some of us are just business-wise doing things which I would see wrong, and so many of our small businesses are closing down, or our businesses are closing down because we just haven't got the clue of what to do in this day and age to keep open. Because I thought there was so many of these businesses could have stayed open. Some of them might have closed down anyway, but so many more of these businesses could have stayed open. And also, I think not a final straw, but one of those things that really got to me was a shop opened up in Dalston. My wife was like, oh yeah, there's a Caribbean shop. And there's nothing to do with the Caribbean shop. Nothing wrong with this. I like this shop. Open up. I said, oh, how do you know about it? She goes, oh, it's a newspaper, Hackney Gazette. And cool, we went there. I liked the food, you know. Then I found out that the owners, I think, were an Asian guy and a white guy. And I was like, oh, look at that. So, and what I mean, not the fact that an Asian man and a white man owned the business, but that it looked like great. There's a successful, well-run business, Caribbean store, and I thought, but it's not run by anyone black. And I was like, why are a lot of the black businesses not running properly? Because I know people will hate me for this because I argue this, and I haven't got an issue with a white man selling black food. I haven't got an issue with an Asian man selling black food. I haven't got an issue with a black man selling Asian food or white food or Italian food. It's business. And if you attach emotion to it and start saying, but we own this, but don't do anything to actually stamp your ownership, then other people are always going to come and take from it.
Yeah.
If you're going to own your business, then you need to do things to hold on to it where other people cannot come and take it because you do it that good. My thing is, if you want to be the best, be the best. Don't be the best in your community, be the best. Don't be the best among your friends, be the best. You know, and when you're competing with your kind of like your neighbors, this is the issue. Stop competing with your neighbors and compete with the popular culture and just generally everyone. Because I felt like with these people, which businesses were closed down, and unfortunately, I'm not like trying to be like, I'm not unsympathetic or, you know, not sensitive towards the fact of the reason why they closed down. But unfortunately, the issues is because you were competing with your neighbors. So when the wider public came in, you couldn't compete with that. But if you'd open up your mind and actually thought to yourself, how do I actually run a well-run business, full stop, then you might have been able to keep up and stay open. So even with the shop I'm opening now, I'm not trying to keep up with other quote-unquote black barber shops. I'm trying to run a good business, full stop. So whether it's, you know, whether it's keeping up with black people, I'm trying to keep up with everyone, just not black people or Asian people, just white people. I'm just trying to
You're running a business
that hopefully could survive a recession, you know, or downtimes and things like that. I'm just trying to make sure that this business is strong enough if the area goes up. I need to try and make sure that this business can survive that.
So with that, because you have wonderful business acumen, and I would say part of it is inherent from what you've spoken about, but I'm sure you've done a lot of research and discovered what works from what doesn't work. So with that in mind, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur trying to come up then, trying to build their own empire, their own business, their own best business?
There's loads of pieces of advice, but I'll just say... what
would be the top thing you'd tell them?
It might not be the top thing, but one of the top things, because I haven't got a top thing.
Apart from be on time.
Apart from being on time, these are cliche sayings, to be honest, but it's kind of like, you've got to work hard. It's literally a marathon, not a sprint. So if you're going into business to think that it's going to be success overnight, then you're probably in for failure. You know, it's literally a marathon. Most successful businesses seem to be overnight successes because you heard about them yesterday, but they probably have about 10 years behind them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so if you're going to look at any business, look at the journey of the business.
Yes.
Don't look at the result of the business.
Yes.
You know, what, you know, of the shop that's here now, you know, or the brand that's there, you know, look at what they did, you know, to get there, you know, hear their stories. You know, we're fortunate right now in the day and age that a lot of people are putting their stories out there.
Yes.
So go and listen to their stories.
And the clues are there, what to do, you know.
Yes, I think that would be one of the top advices, you know, look at people's journeys, and it's hard work. It's literally a marathon, and it's more than a marathon because it keeps going after 26 miles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
so it's endurance. How do you build in that endurance? How do you build in that stamina, right? Talking about endurance and stamina, you are, not only are you really, you know, hugely successful in terms of what you do and what you've put out there, but away from the barbershop, you are a husband and a father.
Yeah, how do you balance?
How do you balance it all? But knowing that most of the time your day starts at 5 a.m. when most of us are like still drawing those Zs, we're still sleeping. How do you do it?
Make sure your number one priority is actually your number one priority. So we all say, oh, it's my number one priority, that's my priority, but we don't actually behave like that. So my family are my priority. My son is my priority, so I put him to bed majority of the times. So people see me and might not realize that because I'm not putting it on Instagram, but that's because I see it as let my family life be my family life. You know, don't put everything on display. You need to enjoy something. Not everything has to be put
out there
onto the gram. You know, you know, some things you can enjoy with just you and your loved ones.
Enjoy the time.
You know, so
like, you've brought him to work as well before. If you have, like, you involve him is what I'm saying.
He's here all the time. What's today? He was here yesterday.
And how old is he?
He's now 2 and 4 months.
Wow.
So from about 3 months old, I've been bringing him to work with me. You know, just because I just feel like you have to make it happen. And if I was in a, God forbid, if I was in a situation where my wife wasn't around for whatever reason, then I'd have to make it work. So when I'm working now, I've said it from the beginning, from the first week we had him, I remember I took him up by myself from like a couple of days in. I was just like, first of all, he's my son. You know, he's our son, but he's definitely not your son. You know, it's not a thing of like, you know, he's your son, he's our son, so he's my child. So there's things which I'll start doing, and she'd be like, I remember in the beginning, she'd be like, oh, thank you. And I remember saying, do not thank me for doing anything for my son, because you make out like I'm an external member of this family, thanking me, like, you know, thank you for helping out. If you come and look after my son, I'm going to thank you, because you're helping.
Yeah,
because he's not my son.
But that's your responsibility.
But don't, I remember from the beginning, don't thank me. So it's just about, I just make sure I'm involved. And to be fair, what it is I sacrifice sleep. So every time she woke up, I woke up. And when it came to the point when he could take the bottle, she could sleep throughout the night, and I wake up every time he wakes up. I've done the sleep training, I'll be up all night, and I go to work because he's my priority, and I need to make sure that we have that bond. You know, I bath him, majority of nights I bath him and put him to bed, because for me, even when I'm tired, it's still the thing of like, I like the fact that, you know, you're gonna have that bond. It's intimate. Bathing your child is an intimate thing. You know, so whereas he's gonna be with his mum most of the time during the day, I need to make sure that we have these moments of like, you know, me bathing you, me putting you to bed. You know, when you wake up in the night, I will deal with you. You know,
but why is that so important? Because the thing is, even listening to you, so many things going through my mind, because there's so many, you know, I'm not trying to diss any dads out there, but there's a lot of men out there that just, they don't deal with their responsibility, and they have left it to the woman, whether they're, you know, not with their partner, whatever the reason is, but they don't actually take that role and you seriously, and you do.
Yeah, you do, but you didn't have your father around either.
No.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I didn't have my dad around. To be fair, I didn't actually care growing up not having my dad around, just because I didn't know any different. You know, but I think having a son, when I started spending time with my son and doing things with my son, it's only recently, in recent times, having my son, I've actually thought, oh, actually, it would actually been good to have a dad around in my life, actually, because this would actually be nice to do these things with my dad. But I guess the reason why I'm like this is because he is my son. So it's not anybody else's responsibility to look after my son. It's me and my wife's responsibility. So, like, it's weird, I'm still not going to accept anything. Like, I'm not, like, my wife from the beginning could never call me to ask me about how's our son doing, and she knows it. It's like, do not call me and ask me about it because you're acting like as if, what do you call it, some babysitter's looking after the son. And it's about taking that responsibility, because so in this culture, so often we generally as men see it as it's the woman's child first and then it's my child. And women just like that. Women are just going to call because they're going to be paranoid, and I'm like, no.
Trust me.
Don't let them, because I'm not calling you when he's with you, when he's out with you.
That's
to be
right.
like checking up, is he okay and stuff like that. So I'm not accepting that. And even little things like, as I said, from the first few days, I had him out by myself. I used to take him out, and just because men need to take the responsibility and understand it. He or she is your child. And the same way a woman acts with that child, it's the same way you should act with that child, because it's your child. Like, he's my child, and so he's my responsibility,
And no excuses, right?
No, it's like life is tough. Yes, it's tiring. It has been tiring. Yes, I've probably had 1 hour sleep and come to work. It's tough, but that's not his fault.
But even though you're saying all of this, but there is still men out there that are struggling with that. They don't have the mindset to be able to deal with it in terms of
the endurance either.
Like you said, you didn't have your father figure around you, but you still have those morals and values to be there. Like you're saying, it's not your child, it's our child. That's your responsibility. And there's so many men out there and young women that didn't have the father figure around them, but still at the same time, they don't know how to be able to deal with that responsibility. So what advice would you give to a young man that may be struggling in that area? They don't know how to really bond or to take that responsibility.
I think I'd say that from the beginning, you need to start as you mean to go on, because it's harder to start implementing things after 2 years and be like, actually, no, this is my child, and no, don't ask me, it'd be a lot harder. I think like what was good for me is from the very start, from when we were in the hospital, and he had to change his nappy for the first time and clean him up. I did it straight away, because jumping on it, like, no, straight away, I'm doing this. Oh, he's not sleeping, no, I'm gonna try and do it. I think you need to jump on it straight away, or else it becomes, because it is daunting. I remember taking him out and it was a bit kind of like, it's a little bit scary, but I think the longer you leave it, the more it builds up. It's like this seed keeps getting watered, and it grows into this big flower, and it goes into this tree of this fear, where I know there are men who are scared to take their child out by themselves. I know and it's sad, but I know there's men who their child is a few years old and they've never been out by themselves with their child. And it's not me throwing shade on them, because I know it's because of fear. They're actually scared. They don't know what to do, until the child knows how to talk and stuff like that. They don't know what to do. It's kind of like, oh, the nappy, and nappy, he's messed in his nappy. He's pooped he or she's pooped all in that nappy. And what do you do? I remember, it's horrible. I remember being out in a diner one time, me and my brother-in-law, and I can't remember what happened, but it's almost like he pooped diarrhea. And so I took him to the toilet, changed his nappy, and it's all over his back and stuff like that. And then I remember
one of those explosions.
And then I left the bag outside in the seat, which had the wipes on it.
Oh no!
But he was all messy, so I couldn't bring him up. But I couldn't leave him by himself in the toilet. So I had to improvise, and my phone was out there. I couldn't even call him to be like, oh, bring the wipes in, this and that. So I had to get all the rolls of tissue, wet it, we wipe them. It's just like, you just have, and the thing is, you just have to be in these situations just to deal with them. It's not something anyone can explain to you. You just have to be out, just to deal with it. And I feel like if you're struggling with it, I just say it's just literally from the beginning, just start.
Jump on it.
Just jump on it. And even if you're 2-3 years in, even if it's now, just jump on it, and just like, bite the bullet, because I think it's scary. I get it. It's scary, but it's your child.
I really commend you and admire, because I think that's your kind of your attitude to life, and I think there are going to be people watching out who are not only inspired by what you've created in terms of your business, but in other areas of your life, how you approach, how you've approached fatherhood, especially. There'll be guys out there watching who think, do you know what, he can do it, and he's in the barbershop at 5 a.m. and he does a 16-hour day, and
well, not everyone can do it though. I want it to be very like. I don't want to sell it though. I don't want to sell that to be an idea like that's work to your capacity. There's so much things to do with mental health issues and stuff like that. I want people to really know that Don't look at me and be like, oh, he's done a 20-hour day, so I need to do a 21-hour day. It's so important in this day and age. Manage your mental health.
Yeah.
Know your limits.
Yeah.
If you can only do 6 hours, then do 6 hours, right? But do it to the best of your ability, you know, but manage it. But don't kind of have these breakdowns because you're living to the expectations of what someone else is doing. So I wouldn't want anyone to do that, you know, just to be clear. I wouldn't want anyone to do that.
And also, women, don't look at this man and think, why my man ain't doing that either. Because we don't want no hate mails, yeah? So
and also, there's things which I'm not doing with my wife. You understand? There's always other things. There's things which my wife isn't happy with. My workload, she's not happy with.
Yeah.
You know, she said she feels sorry for me when she's, you know, 4 in the morning, I'm out and I'm gone and stuff like that. And she doesn't like it. She wishes we could have more time, which, you know, God willing, is going to happen, you know. But,
Amen.
you know,
Amen.
So I'm just saying, not everything is perfect. There is still repercussions of it. We've argued over it, you know. We've had bad seasons over it as well. So don't feel like, you know, oh, because I'm involved. You know, she always says, you know, I'm fully with my son. She goes, yeah, great, but she's like, you know, what about, you know, us?
Yeah.
And that is
because women, we need that. We need that attention. You know.
Talking of women, as you know, this is the No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. So, I'm going to ask you, who would you say has inspired you as a female role model and why? And it could be anyone.
Female role model would be my mum is one. I know a lot of people love to always say their mum, but I got to give you the reason why my mum is probably one of the main ones. Because my mum raised 4 boys by herself.
Wow.
Which is like a lot of people. My mum, when we were in our younger years, had a shop. I was probably about 3-4 years old, something like that at the time. She had a shop which got the supply shop got burgled. I guess she's from Nigeria, so we didn't know about insurance and stuff like that. So she lost the shop, lost the place we were living in, and we were homeless.
Wow.
So we were homeless with 4 children. So I don't remember this. My older brothers would. But I'm thinking about right now, being at this age and having 4 children and being homeless. The children don't suffer as much as the person, the mother, the father, you know, who's in that situation. So she lived the situation. Then we went into some type of homeless shelter and she had to deal with that. Then she got us onto the council list and stuff like that, and then got us, got back into her home. And then she raised 4 children and she worked every hour she possibly could. Wow. You know, and her whole thing was she was constantly trying to provide us with a better life, or not even, she was trying to provide us with a better adulthood. So whatever she could do, especially if it was around education, she just do what she can to make it happen. When I said I want to be an actor, she got me into Sylvia Young.
Wow.
You know, and we've got no money, but we're wearing trainers from Shoe Express, which cost £5 and stuff like that.
Cutting each other's hair.
Cutting each other's hair, this and that. But when it came to kind of like pushing the careers, I kind of like, you want to be an actor? Cool, we'll go drama school. She'll find the money somehow. You know, late payments, definitely loads of late payments, but she made it happen. But she made it happen. And then she raised 4 kids by herself, and she was always trying to do different business things. Like she used to sell plantain chips and chin chin. You know, she used to have us in the kitchen when we were kids. It sounds dodgy when you think about it, in the sense of she had us like weighing up the plantain chips and the chin chin. We'd weigh it, we'd put it into the bags, we'd seal the bags, we'd put the labels on the bags, then she'd put them rucksacks and we'd have to take them to different shops and be selling them.
Proper G, man.
You know, so she tried and she worked.
That's an entrepreneur.
Hard, you know, and nothing ever fully, you could say, fully kicked off, but the main thing she did do is she put us in a position where we could do stuff. You know, so I'd say her main success was raising us. Wow. You know, so that's why I say she is, like, as a woman, is someone who really did it, and she didn't have it easy, and she didn't have the helping hand, you know, and she came from Nigeria over here, so she didn't even understand the culture.
So she had all of those challenges, but she survived them, and
she's a woman.
She's
you know,
a woman,
which means, you know, which is the reality of life is you're a woman. You're not a woman. You're a woman, which means you're a second-class citizen anyway in this country. Although they try and change things now, you know, and then on top of that, especially in the day and age as well, you're a black woman.
Yeah.
And you're bringing up 4 black boys
in the late 80s to the 90s. So
in inner city London. So we respect and commend you, Mum. You done good. You really done
an
good.
amazing job.
Yeah, really did.
Yes. So You said that was just one role model.
Yeah, there's other role models, but I believe
that was the main. Yeah.
She is the main one. My wife is another one. You know, she taught me a lot of stuff. Like, she's helped me. Like, my wife has helped me a lot with a lot of things. Just her way she is. I remember one of the first things which I thought was weird about her, to be honest, that I can't remember, we were having some type of argument, and in the middle of an argument I put forward a point where I was just like, I can't remember what the argument was, but imagine I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, think about it, two apples, it makes 4. It's 4. And she stopped and she was like, that's an example, that wasn't what it was. She obviously knew that 2 was 4. She obviously knew that. She got an A star in maths. And she stopped, she goes, yeah, you're right actually. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I was like, what? What made the argument? And I remember the fact that my wife doesn't mind being wrong. If you put it out there that she's wrong, she'll just stop at that moment. And I thought that was just weird. Like, in the middle of an argument, she'll just be like, if you put the point across that she's wrong, she'll just be like, yeah, I'm wrong. She
and apologise too.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful quality.
And she'll just apologise. And she was quite honest with her emotions. She helped me to be more emotional, because she was so upfront with her emotions. I guess women are more so upfront, but she just done things which she didn't have pride. Like, I remember just telling me things where she just like, you know, yeah, growing up, for example, yeah, I just have it, I was jealous of this person or stuff like that. And then, in present time, she'd be like, yeah, I'm just really jealous of this person. And I just think, I would never say that, you know, that's kind of like...
But that shows strength of the individual to do that, you know, to be able to admit to something, because a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will do the shady little front, you understand what I'm saying, rather than just be open with it.
I thought it was weird. I suppose kind of like how it felt uncomfortable. How she was just kind of like, she'd be like, yeah, I'm just really jealous of that person. Like, I'm really just kind of like jealous, and I'm just like, who says that? Like.
Can I just say, you thought it was weird, but you put a ring on it, so that was weird in a good way.
No, I thought it was weird because it wasn't the norm, because it was kind of like, it wasn't the norm to do that.
Totally
you know, so she's taught me to be more emotional, more emotionally open, drop a lot of pride around things that we think are important when it comes to our personalities and stuff like that. And, you know, she loves to always say to me, I always say I was. She says she loves to say to me, she made me more conscious, which she did, to be honest. You know, because she was banging on to me when I first met her about hair and, you know, natural hair, and she was like probably the first person, to be honest, who I heard was just talking about this before it became fashionable. She was the first person who was always talking about it, and, you know, talking about, you know, even her struggle with hair and identity and all this kind of stuff there, and, you know, just all these things and colonialism and stuff like that. She was always talking about that, to be very honest. I was just kind of like, we talk about just hair, like, who even cares? Like, it's not that deep. Because I obviously, as a black man, I wasn't thinking about, you know, like, I guess what the black woman was going through with their hair. I was like, who even cares? And to be honest, I used to see girls, I didn't even know whether it was a weave or not. Just
my colleague said that to me the other day. I had to laugh about it. He's like, he didn't know. I was like, really? He's watching out there. He's gonna know who it is. I'm like, really? How did you not know this? He's like, well, I just didn't know, innit?
Yeah. So yeah, she helped me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so yeah,
that's wonderful.
She's inspirational.
Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap up now.
We are.
Really, for real.
Yeah.
So how can our audience connect with you if they are not connected with you already?
And to book in for a trim as well.
Yes.
Right? I am on all social media platforms under Slidercuts. One word, SLIDERCUTS. Website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, you name it. Just type in Slidercuts and you will find me. If you want to connect with me, hit me up on one of those platforms.
Can you book a trim through that as well?
If you go to my website, click on book now and you can book a haircut.
There you go.
There you go, guys.
You go. Well, listen, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure sitting here talking to you.
Yes.
You know, we are just kind of captivated by you, by your story and everything. So thank you so much for giving up your time. You've had a whole day in the office, as it were, and you've given your time up for us this evening. So we really, really appreciate it. Yeah, and you know, we encourage you on your journey, and there's great things going to happen for you as you go forward. So, you know, thank you, and you know, all the best to you.
Thank you for having me on your show.
You are welcome.
Accepting the invitation,
Yeah.
even though you know they'd have to come into the shop and badge you up. But we won't go there. She didn't really, but hey.
Yeah. Well, listen, but I did.
So guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode, because we know we were blessed, and we know you were blessed too. So make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, check us out on all our Instagram posts, etc. And also do comment, let us know about your thoughts, how you thought the show was, and connect with all these no ordinary men that we have out there on the platform itself. So until next time, make sure you tune in again, and make sure you share, because sharing is caring. And we love you. From myself, Janelle, and Mark, peace out.
Ciao, people.
Ciao.
Woman, you are the start. You are the beginning, and that is a problem.